Welcome everyone to the Dreambuildrs podcast. I am very excited for this upcoming conversation, not only because it's the first conversation of the new year 2022, but also because we're going to talk about a topic that I find very interesting. It's about, living your purpose, not only that, but also how you can live your purpose amidst all the change that is happening right now in the world and how you can develop an adaptable mindset. And I've invited an amazing guest who teaches everything about, how you can change yourself in this hurricane that is coming towards you. And that's already here. So how you can find empowerment, new perspectives, new insights, and also inspiration. So I'm delighted to introduce to you Robert Overweg. Now, Robert is the adaptability expert and the founder of the Adaptable Mindset program. And he empowers people to develop their own adaptable mindset. His program has been applied at several Fortune 500 companies, multiple small and medium-sized enterprises, and also at innovative schools. So, Robert, I'm beyond excited to have you on the Dreambuildrs podcast. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And what a wonderful and calm and serene intro. Thank you.
Awesome. So, where shall we start this conversation? I started talking about change in the beginning, and I think it's important to mention that I actually saw that yesterday in a kind of an advertisement that Peter Diamandis said that between 2022 and 2026, we can expect as much change as between 1900 and 2000. So, in 4 years' time, we're going to get a century of change flowing onto us. And I would love to know, from your insights and your expertise as well, like, what kind of factors do you see are the most important that are kind of distracting us already from being our true selves, and what's still coming towards us?
Yeah, I think I can probably agree with such statements, although most of these statements can also be false. Everyone makes these statements and they hardly check back. But currently already a lot of people have difficulty keeping up with the change. Technology develops at breakneck speeds. Companies can't keep up. People are stressed out. And when you're stressed out, it can be that you only have like 80% left of your thinking capacity if you're like really stressed out. So there are a lot of things happening which makes it so that we don't really have this openness of the mind. And I think that is the most important asset to have openness to new ideas, openness to new things, to be acceptant of new possibilities so that you can just explore, that you can play with it, that you can then be critical, and in that order as well. And you can train yourself to be more okay in this openness, because this openness gives us uncertainty, ambiguity, anxiety, and all of these emotions and it's difficult to cope with. But you can train yourself to be more okay with these feelings by exposing yourself to things which give you these feelings, but then in a safer environment. So this can be through art, can be through philosophy, can be even in nature, it can be in movies, like anywhere, anything that resonates with you, that you feel that it scratches a bit of an itch, it makes you a bit anxious. That are good things to train with. And then there are also things to take different perspectives with, create mental space, because who has mental space in this day and time, right? Almost no one. Everyone is always looking at the slot machine, which is your phone, scrolling through your Instagram feed, and
Yeah.
I think it makes it so that you get more superficial thoughts,
Mm.
and that you're more lived by outside impulses. And I'm a big fan. I just told you in our talk before, I'm a big fan of Twitter. I use YouTube as well, and you can get autonomous thoughts, you can get like fresh perspectives, beautiful things there, but it is also very good at gaming you in sort of distracting you from what you want to do in life. So yeah, we've got a lot of challenges, a lot of things. I already broke open a few of these rabbit holes that we can go into. Whatever you think is most suitable for your audience, let's explore how to solve these issues.
Awesome. Now, I would love to know, first of all, because you mentioned already a couple of things, and we're going to talk about that, but I would love to know also a little bit about your own journey, of why you even chose to go into this field of adaptability. I think it's very cool if you can tell a little bit about that. so that people can understand where you're coming from and what your transformational journey is as well.
Yeah.
And why you believe it's so important, to have an adaptable
Sure.
mindset.
Yeah. So my journey, so in the beginning of my career, in the beginning, of course, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I started with management, economics, and law, which was, pretty silly for me to do. Was not my path. I founded my own design company when I was like 17, completely naive. Then I noticed that I needed like more skills. So I went to the art academy. The art academy, everything in a sense is defined by me following my own path, following my curiosity. So at the art academy, I was doing the work, what you were supposed to do. I was like, but I want to make photographs and computer games. And everyone at school was like, what the heck is this, man? Maybe you should switch school. And I was like, no, this is art as well. Anyway, fast forward 5 to 8 years later, my work was exhibited in the Centre Pompidou because I kept going with the things I wanted to do. And then because I had design skills and sort of autonomous and critical thinking and thoughts, the like large corporations started knocking on my door. Hey, we want to work together with you because we need someone who can think. We need someone who has a fresh mind. And when I started working with these large organizations, also with universities, I noticed something there that almost everyone was either burnt out or sort of completely devoid of meaning. And it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I'm not sure if I am. Or people fool themselves in thinking that they that the lives that they're living are sort of full and complete. And I don't want to judge it because I know how you can get there. And then you've got this very interesting situation where like people aren't fulfilled with their work, aren't engaged with their work. Like the global average engagement with work is 20%. So 80% of the people are not engaged. And if you look at the data in the US, 17% of the people in America get meaning out of their work. Now, if you look at those kind of statistics, and that would be the recommendation for a summer school for your kid, you're not going to send your kid to such a summer camp, right?
Yeah.
But that is our current state of work. We work too much. We're not connected to meaning. And then we all point fingers at each other and say, we're not innovative. Why aren't we innovative? Why don't we evolve? Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody is engaged. Maybe that's an exaggeration. But the thing is, we know what works in creating mental space. We know what works in empowering people. That's connecting to intrinsic motivation. It's creating mental space. It's creating play space. And when I mentioned some of these things, like a few years earlier at large corporates, they laughed. Haha, play. Haha, who's going to play in a corporate? Yeah, who doesn't want to play in a corporate?
Exactly.
So we can reinvent and use the things that have worked for thousands of years, to help us evolve, connect more with each other, create this mental space, reduce stress. And I think we should take this time, in this time where the impossible became possible because, oh no, it was not possible to work from home. And then suddenly it was. Take this time of drastic and massive change to reinvent how we work, balance our lives a bit more, that we can get more inspired, can create more mental space, that we can do the things that we, I don't want to say put here on earth to do, but to create a beautiful world together where we can all flourish.
I love the fact that you said there's a couple of very interesting things that you mentioned all the time. You repeated a couple of things like creating mental space, openness of mind, and that you also followed your own curiosity, and that has been one of the bigger things in your life that gets you towards more meaning. Is there anything else that really helped you on your path to really live out your purpose, like an important element, aspect, or factor?
Can I first maybe pull on the thread of curiosity?
Absolutely, go ahead.
If you look at what we would call maybe elite performance in business, like Elon Musk or Toby Lutzker, CEO from Shopify, or Zhang Ruimin from Hire. Let's first explore Zhang Ruimin. He's the CEO of Hire. It's an 80,000 people company. And he got his inspiration for the organization of his company from a rainforest. He looked at the rainforest and was like, well, no one tells a tree what to do there. A tree just grows somewhere, it does its thing. It's like this autonomous system. So in China, He builds an autonomous company with 80,000 people where everyone can be a micro entrepreneur. Everyone can start their own business within that ecosystem. And recently they acquired General Electrics, and they're doing the same thing there. And if you look at Elon Musk, for example, we might become an interplanetary space society due to him reading and being extremely smart, of course, but reading Asimov's Foundation trilogy. When he was younger, he read like a sci-fi novel about interplanetary space travel, and that planted the seed in his head, like, hey, maybe this is a possibility. And for Tobias Lutke, it was games. Now, he learned a lot about strategic decision making in games. So actually, if you work there, you are allowed to buy a few of dedicated games, by the way, by him as an employee to also train your skills. So yeah, just do more of what inspires you and try to learn from these things and in a sense, learn transferable skills. I think that is, keep pulling on the thread, because if you can find what you're curious about, and if you can keep pulling on that thread, keep exploring, in a sense, you've got lifelong learning. And that is what everyone in these companies are yapping about. No, lifelong learning, yeah, but no one is engaged. So first find what people are curious about. Right? That could be, could be the key. And then you can go on for infinite. So with the Adaptable Mindset program, now I'm always learning, always speaking with people to improve it, because this is what drives me.
Now, I know that you have an amazing exercise to help with people find more inspiration. And I'm a very practical guy. I love exercises. So can you perhaps share a little bit about, how we can find more inspiration in our work, knowing that, many people, like what you said, only 20% of the people in the global workforce is engaged. Like, how can we find that inner motivation and more inspiration in the things that we're doing?
Yeah, I first have a feeling that I need to make like a small disclaimer, because most people feel that they are already overwhelmed. And when I mention that you need to have more inspiration, they're like, what? I'm already stressed out, bro. Please, not more, not more. But you should do less of the crappy stuff and more of the good stuff. So more of the stuff that has always pushed humanity forward in philosophy, nature,
Yeah.
But the exercise. And maybe have some other practices that create mental space. Maybe you install a few apps, these sort of things. And then focus on what your goals are, but about the exercise. So the idea is you can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. Just think for a while about 10 things that really inspire you, that really give you energy. Then you can look them up as well, but it can be like yoga, going into nature, going to a forest, maybe drawing. Was there something that you did as a kid that you stopped doing? So for me, it was cartoons. I drew a lot of cartoons when I was younger. And of course, you can't make money in cartoons. So, that is not a smart path to follow. But what if you pick that up again, right? What if you start doing these sort of things again? And now write down your list of 10 things. Then give it a rating of 1 till 10. How important they are to you. How much energy you get from them. So you give all of these things a rating. And then the second step is to look at how well integrated these things are in your life. So give that a rating as well. And immediately you'll start to see where the discrepancies are. You'll see like, wow, I really like going into nature, and I do it like never. No, these sort of things immediately materialize. And you can do it with your team as well. This is a fantastic exercise to humanize the work environment again, because you'll start to notice, wow, you like architecture. Oh, I didn't know you like architecture. And then you fuse new bonds and you can continuously inspire each other. If you look at works from Zaha Hadid or other artists or other architects, the kind of works that they build, they bring you in such different mental and emotional realms. I think we need more of that kind of inspiration in our lives, more of the possibilities and less of all of the negativity that you see in the news. Just don't watch it. Just focus on positive things that inspire you, so that you'll be able to create a larger lattice work of ideas. Because one idea can change your life. Imagine that you have like entire lattice work of ideas that you can just pick new possibilities from, because I and my people have seen so many possibilities, that every challenge we face, you already have like three possibilities, three different perspectives that how we might be able to solve it. You'll just create a larger plethora, larger library of ideas, and then think of maybe together also how to better integrate these things in your life. Um, yeah, but first find the energy. First become engaged again with these things, so that you're not just in your cognitive and rational mind and start saying, yeah, it's not possible. Oh, I've got kids and the work and all of these things that we always say. But those, yeah, aren't useful thoughts. Use words like how might we, how might you change the situation, or just try it on for size. Just and then create a structure, a system that supports that.
I love that. And you don't need to start with, with big ideas, like big business ideas, for example. What you say, you can also start very small, with small inspirations that inspire you on a daily basis. I remember when I did a similar exercise years ago. One of the things that I wrote down that very inspired me very much was like training on a daily basis. And I noticed that I wasn't training at all. Like I was training once a week, but I wanted to have that more in my life, to create that mental space. It's very important for me to, to physically engage almost every day and create that mental space, so that I can be inspired again. So this is was a very important exercise for me to become aware, I'm actually not doing this. So,
Yeah.
And it inspires me. So it's very cool. I talked a bit about the mental space as well, and I would love to move towards that, because I think it's also very important in our adaptability. How can we create mental space according to you? Like, there's lots of things we can do, of course, but I think this is very important. Like you already mentioned some things, like, okay, let's, for example, not look at our phones, or don't watch TV or the news. What are really things that we can implement as well in our lives to become in tune with ourselves, right?
Yeah. The things that you mentioned, of course, help. If you stop watching television, if you stop watching the news, saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of stress as well. You can also turn off push messages on your phone, on your laptop as well. If you have a boss, you can tell your boss that if you can get into a flow state, you'll be 500% more effective. It's research by McKinsey. You can show him that. So you don't want to be distracted all the time, because then you can't get into deep thought. You can't get into deep work. And into these deep moments, we come to the real work. We get to the real ideas. To get rid of the apps that don't serve you. And also maybe Marie Kondo your timeline. So look at, for example, if you follow people on Instagram, just make it all things that inspire you. If you want to have like this creative hobby, make sure that it's only that. Same with Twitter. So my Twitter is completely flooded with Web 3.0, with decentralized autonomous organizations. So I'm always good there. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can also fall in the trap of just infinitely scrolling and infinitely learning, and fooling yourself that you need this. But sometimes it's also enough. Sometimes so maybe schedule time for when you use these tools. And what I found, what works really well for me, is that I noticed that when you lack purpose, you distract yourself with these instant pleasures and this gratification. And if you have more purpose, if I'm scrolling on Instagram or I'm watching too many YouTube videos, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You could be dead in a year or 10 years, and you want to do all of these things still, and you're not doing it. So that is always a nice wake-up call. But to create this mental space, like going into nature, like what you're doing every day, a workout. So I just came back from yoga retreat, so my mind is all flexible. And now we are continuing it here in the Netherlands. Every morning, a small yoga exercise, 20 minutes. And if we can, we also put in a small meditation. Mind is clear for the entire day. Nothing can fuck with me. So that is already winning. But it might be something else for you. So there was a while when I did yoga and kickboxing, like both of these things. So you can combine what you want, but create a system that supports you in reaching your goals. And then you've got meditation, journaling, you can also do these sort of things.
I love it. I'm also a fan of yoga. So every morning when I wake up, I do a very quick. It's a kind of a combination of stretching and yoga. So in the beginning, I only did yoga when I started, like 10 years ago. But now I also do some good stretching, and I love it. It's just I'm kind of waking my body up for the morning, and I'm starting with my own principles during the day, not immediately looking at my phone, seeing what's happening out there in the world. But you're still with yourself. And one of the things I also do is I always put my phone on flight mode. I think that also helps me a lot in creating mental space. So 10:30 in the night, 11, it goes to flight mode, and only like next morning at 9 o'clock I open it. And of course, then I'm already awake for 2 hours or more.
I do the same.
This has been a huge game changer for me. Like I do not even have to look at my phone. Nothing is happening there.
So. Now, it's weird to wake up and have your own conscious thought be someone else's thought. That is weird, right? Why would you do that? Oh, Kanye West broke up. What the hell, bro? Who needs that? or your friends are asking you something which can also wait until it's like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Like, or next day,
or the next day even, And people, even at work, people get used to it. So my phone is always on silent. So I can't be called. Yeah, you can call me, but I won't pick up. But even with these corporate clients, like Heineken is one of our clients, people learn, I'll call you back. So you can't interrupt my life. Or I'll text you first, when we can have a call, or maybe it could be an email or a Slack message. Could also be the case. Or maybe we can document stuff better in a Notion file, so you don't have to have these endless interactions. Now, there's so many possibilities. If you look at, sorry to sort of venture into this, but if you look at companies like Gumroad, for an example, they have no meetings there. Everything is just properly documented, and people work as little as possible. So there are all these examples. If we just take a step back and sort of reassess the possibilities, then we might be able to create a more proper environment for ourselves and others.
Exactly, more serene and more peaceful also for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And what you mentioned earlier as well, getting easier in states of flow. And I think that's also very important, because that's where, the ideas flourish and you get more creativity. Super important, especially when you're working, at work or for yourself, whether you're a business owner or not. So super important. Robert, you mentioned before we started that you had another amazing exercise. I'm not sure if we've already gone through it, but feel free to tell where that exercise is about, because I love bringing practical ideas to this podcast that people can implement in their lives. So go ahead.
So another practical one is, and this one is about imagine that you are maybe a bit stressed out, you're overwhelmed with feelings, and even if you know all the things that you could do, right? Meditation, yoga, and you're doing it all, it still can be that you're like constantly angry. You're like, I can't get out of this. I'm still, you view everything from negative space, which is not a nice place to be in. Or you're stuck in work in a position that you don't want to be, and you can't seem to get out of it. And the idea is based upon, it's how it's easier to give advice to a friend, because you are not that friend being overwhelmed with emotions. So it's easier for you to just objectively say, hey man, you should just do this course and this thing. And then you wonder why he or she won't follow up because he or she is overwhelmed with emotions. So anyway, the thing is, you feel overwhelmed. You could be walking on the street, that helps. You could also be just at home, maybe just went out of an argument or something like that. And then you can close your eyes, keep your eyes open again, and then start scanning the room. Like, hey, where am I actually? Oh yeah, bookshelves, floor, maybe if you're outside, trees. Yes, trees. Oh wow, buildings. Yes. And hey, I'm here as well. Oh wow. So in the sense, you make like a 3D scan of the environment, and then you see yourself as well. And then you yeah, instantly when you get that, you are able to take a distance from yourself. And then it's, in a sense, it cuts the ties from being overwhelmed with emotions. And you can better advise yourself, see what kind of situation you're in. And if you're able to zoom out even more, like, I'm actually like this tiny person out of a couple of billion people. What was again the issue? And yeah, and then start reframing things, make it so, like, okay, how impactful will be this, how I feel about this current situation in a year, in 10 years, make it lighter and lighter, take more and more distance. And that is yeah, it's like a cheat code. And in a sense, you look at yourself like you look at a person in a game, like your third person view.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot.
And I also think it helps with just being completely present in the moment when you do
Yeah,
that exercise, right? And that's also, super important for ourselves.
yeah.
So very cool. Now, Robert, what I would love you to share is in our first conversation, you had I love this vision that you had for, apart from the Adaptable Mindset program that you're teaching, you have a very cool vision about, about education and what you want to change in our education, especially when it comes to, younger education, like for kids and so on. Can you tell a little bit about your vision for the future, like what you're building, or what you would love to build? Because I think this vision is super inspiring.
Yeah. So, like a lot of the, yeah, let's just call it issues in our world come from an educational system where we don't really get the skills that we need, and also not necessarily in our upbringing. So what if we would change that and give everyone like a backpack with the right tools to modulate your emotions? Know how breathing can help you to calm down, how to deal with anger, how to create mental space, how to connect to your inspiration and keep on pulling on that thread. So all of these, yeah, in a sense, the building blocks of things that you need in life. Work on that, and also develop technological awareness, because in schools, you're still being taught about models and technology, which is already outdated when you finish school. So we're going to build this in a sense. We're already gathering people. We've got very interesting professors with like multiple titles, but we're also looking for for parents and also for students. So we want to build it. It's for the people, by the people. So we're building it together, and everyone can chime in with ideas, because it is, in a sense, a bit weird that you sort of outsource the education of your kids, and they're all being taught things that you might not agree with. So
Yeah.
why don't we create it ourselves? And it's going to be a supplement, right? So the calculus and all the other things, you do that in school, that's fine. Check that box. But yeah, in a sense, more of the foundation, the ability to adapt, the ability to stay happy, the ability to create mental space. Oh, we know how we can do it, but the knowledge is just not evenly distributed. So we want to change that.
I love that, and I think it's so much needed in this world, right? What you said, our education models are kind of completely failing us in that sense, that we need to find more what's driving us, right? In the first place, and that's what you were talking about, like intrinsic motivation, curiosity, and finding that back in our lives. And I find it beautiful that you're setting a program up that helps students to get more in tune with themselves. Ultimately, I think that's super
Yeah,
important.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you have ideas, yeah, like Jochem, or if someone else has ideas, one of the listeners, because like a lot of beautiful things come out of just an idea, just out of maybe even a subconscious or intuition, like Bitcoin. It's one guy or maybe a team, which is now like entirely new financial system. Or EMDR, it's one woman who just noticed something. Or breathing exercise by Wim Hof, it's just one guy. And first we always look at it from, at least most people, from a negative perspective. Oh, it's nothing. But what if we are open to new ways of learning, to new ideas? Now, what if we bring all of these sort of people together and learn from that?
Thanks for sharing. Now, I wanna zoom in on that word openness, because you mentioned that in the beginning of our conversation, and I would love to know, like in your life, what has been the most important thing for you to be more open, and get that open-mindedness in yourself, to to
Yeah,
explore the world and be open for other people as well. I think it's super important.
yeah, yeah. Of course, working with the Adaptable Mindset program and just being exposed to all of the content and exercises. Yeah, how can you not be open if that is the goal of the program? So we create like this cognitive reset and this openness and this spaciousness. And yeah, for the rest, from my own experiences, what helped me a lot is um, taking the perspective of someone else. So I did a lot of corporate and startup innovation for over a decade, and yeah, sometimes I just couldn't believe, like, why is he or she not moving? Right? It's a brilliant idea. Why are you not cooperating? But then, if you switch perspective and you notice, okay, so this person might be completely stressed out. Might have 3 kids at home, is not engaged with work, all of these things, and then, aha, okay, that might be the reason why he or she is not moving. Maybe we first need to fix that. So this ability to, yeah, be able to switch perspective was really important, and of course the constant exposure to. I think my mind is changed every, no, maybe even a couple of times a week, but I like that. I like to be, yeah, have these fresh perspectives and have my life and my mind turned upside down. That you're sort of okay with that, and yeah, just flow with that.
And you're an artist as well, right? So you kind of
Sure.
you're training that open-mindedness as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so super important. Okay, Robert. Well, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing all this, inspiration on the podcast. Please let us know, what the best places are that people can find you, and of course also the Adaptable Mindset program. So go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, you can find more on adaptablemindset.com. There's a lot of free content there. There's a free masterclass on how to create mental space. And also you can do the online program, which creates this cognitive reset and helps you to connect again to what you find inspiring, and learn how to use what you find inspiring in your life. And there's more things like how to deal with the fear of failure. There's a few articles as well. So yeah, just start exploring there. You can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter on Robert Overweg. Love to connect and continue talking.
Awesome. I really recommend anyone who's listening to follow Robert's work. Please go ahead to the sources that he mentioned. And then, Robert, before you're leaving, I would love to know, if you're really thinking about one last takeaway for our listeners, in living your purpose and really becoming more adaptable. What is one last thing that you would love to mention, and that you think hasn't
Uh,
been mentioned yet, and is really, really important?
don't wait for permission.
Awesome. Any further explanation? Or
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Most
right?
people wait for maybe someone else to create the right space, or maybe the world is not conducive to your ideas, and then make it so, or change your ideas. It's up to you to take the first step. If you feel like shit, go out for a walk, do yoga. If you feel uninspired, yeah, who are you going to blame? Your boss, your environment? No, fix your shit. So you could also end with that.
100%. I love this outro. Fix your shit. So thank you so much for coming on, man. I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm obviously going to follow your work in the future. And yeah, thanks for your inspiration and all the exercises that you brought to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks for
having me,
coming
Jochem.
on.
It was wonderful. Great.
Thank you.